All right, today on Quick Concepts for Math 87, I'm going to go over properties of operations. First of all, let me say that you'll hear me in class. I do not think these are important. I want you to be able to do math, not name it. So I'm going over this for one reason. That's because sometimes you see them on tests, sometimes you see them in homework, and this will give you a place to come to write everything down. Okay? So first of all, we are going to talk about some properties, and then we're going to talk about some identities. So let's talk about properties first. So you have something called a commutative property. You have the identity, and that can be the commutative property, just so you know, of multiplication or division, or excuse me, of addition. Multiplication and division. Put these together. Addition and subtraction. But they pretty much mean the same thing. Then you have something called the identity property. Then you have something called the associative property. Again, I just don't think these are super important, but they can get frustrating when you can't, you have to keep looking back at the book. So this is something you can go there. All right, again, they're going to be essentially for additives, the addition property, multiplication, they can go on either way. So let's talk a little bit about the commutative property. The commutative property just tells us that for multiplication, that this could be 4 times 5 equals 20 is the same as 5 times 4 equals 20. So that's what they're talking about there. Same way with division, you could say 20 divided by 5 is equal to 4, just like 20 divided by 4 is equal to 5. If you wanted to do that same commutative property with addition, it'd be like this. 2 plus 3 is equal to 5, just like 5 or 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. Problem is subtraction cannot be commutative, which you should know this, because if I were to say, well, what's 5 minus 3, right? That's 2. But is 3 minus 5 2? No, that's negative 2. So subtraction doesn't work here. All right, so that takes us to the additive identity. So let's talk a little bit about the identity property of addition. Okay, so the identity property of addition is any number plus 0 is the number. So essentially, any number plus 0 is that number. So 0 is called the additive identity. Okay? Now, the identity property of multiplication is the same, except it's not 0. It's 1. And that tells us anything times 1 is itself. So the multiplicative 1 is the multiplicative identity. Again, you can put this on a card. It's going to help you get through some homeworks and stuff. I think all of this stuff stops at the beginning of Algebra 1, and you're never going to see it again. Okay, so let's go on to associative. All right, so the associative property it has to do with grouping. So what I mean by that is, like, let's say you have something like 2 plus 3 plus 4 is equal to, what is that, 9? And then if you said 2 plus 3 plus 4 that's equal to 9 as well. So essentially, it's these numbers are associating each other with them. So same thing with multiplication. If we said 2 times 3 times 4 is 24, and if I said 2 times 3 times 4, that's 24 as well. So that's the same thing for addition and multiplication. And I guess the only other thing they talk about is anything that's multiplied by 0 is 0. They call it the zero property of multiplication. Again, not super importante. Yeah, so I'll just write that down. The property of 0 for multiplication is any number times 0 is going to be 0. And that's about it. Again, this is just useful, for having a quick reference to know these things that I don't find very important.